15th of April. I'm going to be doing a bit of planting out today because the weather's fine. We've had a bit of a week of high winds and rain, so thought now's the time. It's a bit later than normal, but because of the bad weather I've had to sort of wait a little while. So as you can see, sun's out, and Kane's had a couple of days outside when it's been allowed to, when the sun's been warm because he's African. So he's doing fine. So hopefully if it's a good summer, he'll spend most of the time outside. A bit slow and sluggish at the moment because he's spent, pretty much since October indoors. But he's doing all right. Still grumpy, but he's doing all right. He likes it out here when the sun's out. Plus he saves him mowing the grass as well, so like a free lawnmower. So we'll get on, have a look at some seedlings and that, and we'll start doing some bit of gardening. Well, I thought we'll start off down the bottom end, so I've kind of decided, I had some strawberry plants. I think these are Honai, or whatever they're called. I've decided just to put them down here. Whether they do anything, I don't know. I thought they were just struggling in pots, so I thought I'll put them in and see how they go. There's one that's sort of looking a bit poorly over yonder, but I can take some runners off. I need to go along and keep picking these, because they're trying to flower, so I need to get rid of the flowers, otherwise that'll make them suffer. So get rid of the flowers so I can put some more foliage out and generally get a bigger plant. They're the survivors from last year. I'm not sure if they're Florence or Vibrant, them, but they need sort of some runners taking off or potting up and moving somewhere. I don't know what I'm going to put in that bed yet. It'll probably have the French climbing beans in later in the season. But there's lots of rogue parsley. I've had parsley in a pot and it's kind of self-seeded, which you can see over here. So I'll probably just leave that be and let it grow. Just pick the parsley, saves me sowing any. So we'll have a look down the garden in the polytunnel and that. These onions have had a good week outside. I had to kind of give them some protection with the really high winds because they've just collapsed everywhere. And they've had a bit too much water from the rain, so I've got them on there to dry out. So I'm hoping to go up to the allotment tomorrow and start planting. I went up yesterday just to see what it was like, see if there's any damage, and it's still very wet, but I'm out of time. I've got to get things out because it's not going to do them any good keeping them in pots now. Going to the polytunnel. Things have come on quite a bit. These are the tomatoes that potted on in the last video, which are the different composts. So far, everything, I mean, the topsoil's lagging behind a little bit, which I thought it would because it's just topsoil. These are me giant bell pepper plants. There's a couple of tarquino there, a big row of bell pepper plants here. I'm wondering whether to top them soon or not. I don't know whether I'll top them this year. It's just basically sort of like go in and nip that off to make a more bushy plant. I might do because it just depends. I don't want them really tall, you see, more of a bushy ones. So these are the ones that I've kept. So it just goes to show how fast they grow. I mean, these were potted on about 10 days before these, all from the same batch. So it just goes to show, once you give them that bit more room, they're in the Jameson's multi-purpose compost, all my tomatoes. The peppers are in the Westlands multi-purpose with John Innes. So I've got my surplus tomato plants down there. I'm waiting for a phone call because I think a few people want some, so I said I'll prick some out if they want some, and I'll give them to them in a couple of weeks. A bit further down we've got some sort of sweet peas, beetroot, bolt-hardy beetroot, some spring onions. I'm going to put them out today, I think. Some Saxo red lettuce. I've got a lot of lettuce that I've not tried before, so I like the loose leaf lettuce, and whatever I don't eat the tortoise will eat plenty of that, no worries about that. These are all leftover seedlings. I need to check, because there's a couple of people at the plot might want some, so I might give them some. That's Monsieur. Sort of a bit thickly really, but still got rocket at the back. It's been neglected. It's just in the green waste compost, and I could water that and it'd perk up fine. That's some sort of backup of quails there, broccoli should I need it. So down here, some more. This is like a little gem type lettuce. That's Monsieur. These are celery, taking a right batter from the heat because some of them just shriveled up. So I'm going to keep these in pots as long as I can. I'm going to prick these out and probably try and put them in single pots until the space comes available. That's what I'm kind of planning. Some melons, been a bit slow on germination. Like I say, whether I do melons or not, I don't know. But basically I've got some Melba and some Minnesota midget. I'll try them. And this is some lettuce. This is the New Red Fire. Some Monsieur, some rocket over the back there. Here's some little gems called at Valen. Spring onions, I think they're Guardsmen. I can't remember. They're either Guardsman's, Ishikura, or Feast. I can't remember which ones. This is the Grenoble Red. It's struggling now. It's just, I mean, this was watered last night, so these are going out. Spring greens, telltale sign, purple leaves, getting absolutely starving now. So these are desperate to go in. I've not grown them as cabbage. Going to plant them closely and either harvest them as like greens or just pull the leaves off and do them a bit like a cut and come again. For mainly cane, but I mean we eat the greens as well. Some more lettuce down here. These won't be going out for probably another week or two, because if I try and pull these out, they'll just probably pull the plant out or snap off. So I've got some Lola Rossa, some Cantarax, red salad bowl and green salad bowl. And then down here we've got some alpine strawberries. What comes of them I don't know. And then some petunias, which will be going in the pots down the garden. Some sage, more sweet peas and some coriander. What else have we got in here? Not a lot really. This is all surplus stuff under here. Trying to keep it as shaded as possible really, a lot of it. I've got some pre-made pots here. It's basically how I potted things on. 1 litre pots, got the 7cm pot inside, filled with multi-purpose compost. Pull the pot out, put your plant in, and it's as easy as that really. Just saves you trying to fill up round the pot. So I've got a few surplus here. Might end up using them for me with chilies and that, because they're under the lights in the attic still at the moment. I need to make some space, so once I've got rid of a few plants out of here, I'll have the space. But yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned about these onions because they are heavy and very wet, and they are prone for damping off. So I'm just hoping today's a bit of breeze, sunshine to dry them off a bit, and I can get them into the plot, because the beds are quite wet at the plot. So I'm expecting to lose a few, but I've got plenty of onions there, and some beetroot. I think that's some sort of long cylindrical beetroot. It's probably going to be a bit funky because it's been grown in module trays. You want perfectly round beetroot, sow them direct, because obviously once they hit like the bottom of the module, they tend to fork a little bit, but you still get a round beetroot, just has like little tiny roots on it as well. So again, just happily chomping around grass. Some rocket there, that was sown sort of pre-winter. Another sign that it's absolutely starving. All my garlic is so desperate to go out. I mean, it's quite embarrassingly root bound, that. So that's going. That'll be one of the first things to go up to the plot. Peas in the gutters, tendrils on them now, ideal size for going out them. I don't think they'll really have any pests apart from a bit of flea beetle, or pigeons can still have a do, but usually they're kind of okay, but you never know. As soon as you put it out to Mother Nature, things can happen that you don't want really, but that's just the name of the game. Some radish here that's ticking over. Got the grow bag here, got 3 Colossus strawberry plants in there. Got all my nets on, bed's all ready to go. I'll give them a bit of a rake. There's a few weeds growing here and there, but I'll catch them in the coming weeks, because you can tell as soon as the weeds start growing, it's time to get your plants in. Give these a little bit of water before, just so when I'm dibbing holes it's not going to collapse in. All there is under this at the moment is the compost comparison potatoes in pots at the moment, because I had my onions under here, but this kind of blew about in high winds because it was horrendous. My seeds arrived for the red intermediate, or long red intermediate carrots, so I've sown them. There's about 4 or 5 per sort of area, so planting station. So see how they go. Should be up in 2 or 3 weeks. Go down here, and then we've got raspberries and the 3 exhibition onions, which are putting tops out. Probably put a flower spike out, and if I get any seeds, fair enough. Nice flowers anyway when they get tall. So not decide what to put down here. Seems to be just used as a cat litter area at the moment. It's a problem in my garden. Everyone's cat seems to come in and do its business, so the sooner I can get these nets down, the better. In here, these are the Kelsey onions. I'm probably going to do 15 or 18. I've got 30 there, so I'll be giving some of them away to family and a few people down at the plots. Under here I've got all my brassicas. These are really struggling now because they don't like the heat too much. There's all my cauliflower. These are drying out daily. You know, these are the Clapton. All got the drinking straws on. Desperate to go out. I mean, the Primo 2 is suffering at the back there. But the broccoli, you know, is still relatively. It's not pot bound or anything, it's okay, but they're starting to push out the straws, so I don't know if you can see how it actually does it. As it grows, it pushes the straw open. So I've got a fleece over them. bit of a net over the roof of this, just to give them a bit of shade, because they don't like freezing cold temperatures, but they don't want to be cooking in sun. You know, they like the warm days. They're not really designed to be in greenhouses this time of year. Look in the shed. I can't really get in the shed because, like I say, this is not organised. I need to get organised in here at some point. But there's all my seed potatoes there, which are going down the plot. Absolutely stacks. So I took the plastic sheet off the bed yesterday, let a bit of air to it. It's full of tunnels from rats and that. Rats all over the plot at the moment. They're a bit of a nuisance because someone's got some chickens nearby and their rats are coming around everywhere. So they're going to be all planted. How much of it I video, I don't know, because I don't want to bore you with planting every single plant, you know, because there's hundreds of them. But it's pretty much a basic rule of, if it's in a pot, I'll trowel it in, or I'll use like a bulb planter, or if it's in a module tray, I've got an old spade handle here that's shaved down, and I've got a little cable tie on there if I need to use it for a marker. That's what I use for like the 40 cell trays. To plant them out. I'll do a few on video, and then we'll have a look at everything when it's in. I'm going to be putting my Brussels sprouts in here. They'll look a bit lost because they are quite small, so I'll interplant something to sort of fill the gaps for now, because once they get tapped in they'll start growing. I've ordered some bloodfish and bone meal, but it's not arrived because I wanted to get it raked in, but for some reason it's at the depot, and it's been there for about a week now. So I'll have to sort of top dress it in between, which is a bit of a faff, but I just need to get the plants in the ground. While we've got days of a bit of sunshine and rain, they'll help water them in and stop them from dying. So we shall crack on. As you can see, I've got some little plastic rings on here, and they're just basically using them as a guide for where I'm going to be planting the Kelsey onions. I thought I'd do them up this end, because it does get a bit slug infested around this end, so if I put lettuce or anything up here, they're more likely to get attacked up here. And, you know, they're a bit more forgiving with onions, even though they can attack the tops of them a bit, but they're just basically spacers, because these, I don't know if you can see, but these are basically the supports I'll use. Just a bit of 10mm plumbing pipe, so if I've put like a screw in there just to sort of wedge it together, cable tied with a bit of duct tape or insulation tape around there, and that's what I push in the ground. You know, later on that supports the top of the onion. Usually I'd have them in bigger pots by now, but I thought, well, this year, rather than being too time consuming, I'm just going to shove them in. I would give them more spacings, but, you know, they've got a good foot from each other. Because once you get a few that start collapsing, then they sort of lean on each other. So, like I say, I'd probably get, you know, 5 by 3 to do this end, and then this end of the bed, I'll probably leave for celery, but I might fill it with something that's sort of quick cropping, or some lettuce, but I can't really put the nets down for long because the onion tops will push against them. So I need something that's sort of in and out, or that's not a problem for slugs. It might be beetroot, I don't know, or spring onions. Because I can kind of put the spring onions in and leave in mind where I'm going to be planting the actual celery. So all I'm going to do is just sort of like mark the middles like that with my finger, and then I can sort of like, you know, move them like that and do the next row in the middle like that. So just there for like mapping out, so when I come to put these supports in, they'll fit. So we'll get on and do a couple of them. Right, I'm going to plant these Kelseys in now, so we can basically dig a hole. Not going to really bury them any deeper as such. They're okay to go a little bit deeper, but don't be too much deeper. You know, I walked over this bed earlier on this morning, and then watered it and raked the top off. That's just to knock some air out of it, because, you know, it's nice having nice loose crumbly soil, but it can dry out quite easy, so you need to make sure that everything is sort of like the right sort of texture. It just helps with wicking moisture up from the soil below. Nothing too fancy or anything, just bung them in. You know, and I'm expecting most of these sort of get to that sort of £3-4 mark. You know, but sometimes if the conditions allow it, you can get a real lump And obviously if you grow them proper like in greenhouses and stuff like that, you will get some real whoppers, because you know, wind does knock them about a bit. As soon as they get tapped into the soil, they'll pump a lot of roots out, and just as the season progresses, they'll sturdy up a little bit. They have been outside as well, so just sort of kind of get them ready for what's to come. I'm not going to go over the top this year with supports. Usually I put like an extra one on now, but just leave them be. So I'm not growing them for exhibitions or anything. I could do, but I've never bothered. Yeah, but plenty of roots on them. You know, when my bloodfish and bone comes, I'll just sort of give it a light dusting around the area. I mean, you can sort of like hoe it in, I guess, but I'll just let the rain wash it in. It's like slow release. If anything, bone meal's better for this type of thing. I think you don't want too much nitrogen, so otherwise you can get thick necks and a lot of greenery and not a lot of bulb. Give them a full 10 litres of water. And that'll probably be the only time I'll water them. Because when that, you know, that's enough to sort of soak around the root ball, get some roots going. They'll tap into the soil, and they'll find their own water from there. Unless if it gets really dry and hot. Never just assume because the top's dry. You know, you get so far down and it's plenty moist enough. So that's the onions. I'm going to try planting up one of these Vegega Raised beds. So links in the description below, and if you want to have a look at these on their website, and there'll be a discount code as well if you want one. But so far they're actually good. They hold the nets well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they get on. Obviously, when you saw me fill these up, it's stuff that's provided by Scriven's landscape supplies, which basically is green waste and topsoil mixed together. And I think I just chucked some like unrotted Brussels sprout stalks right in the bottom. So they're 8 inches. Different configurations you can do with the beds. They were a 2 foot by 8 foot, but you could do 5 by 5, 6 by 3.5. So this one I've done a little bit smaller. I think this is 5 by 3.5, because just to fit it in. The other bed behind it is a 6.5 by 3.5. But we should sort of see how they get on this season. So spacing wise, not quite sure what it is, to be honest. I'll just, you know, because 3.5 is a bit of a weird sort of size for me usually, but we'll play it by ear. So I'm just going to go straight in the middle like that and just kind of guesstimate it. So I could do them on the diagonal, you know, a foot apart like that maybe, and then possibly one here, one there. Doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously it looks nice to the eye, like, but I say it's only for greens. Yeah, I think that'll kind of work. And do a sort of 3 again here, I think. Oh, they're quite close to the edge of the bed, these outside ones, so they'll probably hit the sides of the nets. but we'll see how we get on. So how many have I got there? So it's 8, 14. Get some more, another row in maybe. I might just fill the bed up with greens. Because they are nice to, as you're waiting for your cabbage to come ready and that, some shredded up greens and that. Plus it'll use up any sort of excess nitrogen that could be in the bed. So we've got there now, 3, 7, 10, 14, 17, oh, and I've only got 20, so I think it looks like 17 is going to be it, because I hate having an odd line. So they're all, much dib them all a little bit deeper, because they're quite stalky, these greens, so I don't mind them being a bit down. And then they'll sort themselves out. We just do it being a little bit thicker, this makeshift dibber for the 40 cell module trays anyway, but give them a bit of a push, they'll squidge in. And give them good water, it washes any soil around the stem and that. You can always just put a bit of soil around them if you want. So fingers crossed, these should just jump out because of that root bound. It should be pretty simple. Pop one out, one in. Push them all the way down to the bottom. It's kind of pretty much spot on with where the first true leaves are. You know, a lot of these coloured leaves that have gone a bit purple in colour and yellow tinge, they will, you know, inevitably die back. Pick them off in a couple of weeks, you know, and then your growing tip will be nice and lush. Well, I might have enough to actually fill this bed up actually. I thought I did 20. Even I've just got enough room at the end just to put a row of spring onions in or something, just to fill that gap. And this is where if you've got your prep all right and you've planned it before you actually commit to it, or at least got some sort of idea. It's always subject to change, you know. It's just the planting is quite nice, just to dip a few holes, push your plants in and let them get on with doing the thing. You know, but they are sort of quite horrendously root bound. How many have I got left there? 2, so I get another row of 4 in probably. I could put, so I'll double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, just put another 4 in. They are quite close together, these, so they'll start pushing each other about if I let them get too big. But you can always cut the odd one out if you want. Like that. Yeah. Fingers crossed, they'll do fine. I'm just going to go around and just tickle a bit of soil in around the stems just for now, just to give them a bit of stability. I mean, it'll eventually wash in anyway with the rains and weather and stuff, but save a bit of time. Yeah, at the end I might just, I've got some tiny little bunch of spring onions, so I might just put some in a little row around the side here maybe. I'll water them in for now, then they can get settled in. I'm going to put a row of little gems just straight along here, and I'll use any leftover ones just to fill in little gaps somewhere. So I've got like obviously another 20 that are going to come out probably in another couple of weeks, so I'll probably put them in one of the other raised beds. But I thought just to fill a little line up, because they only get small, you know, they don't get very big or anything, so I took them up near the edge of the bed, and these will just get harvest full. Pretty much just solely for Kane to eat, and he'll eat, you know, 2 or 3 in one sitting, so I can't keep up with him. So I'll probably just put him, because, you know, they're not going to get very big. Slide my cable tie down a bit. I don't want to bury these too deep so they rot off. I'll probably go for just a fraction deeper. Probably, I don't know, probably 8 inches, something like that, maybe space them. Soon dried out this bed because I watered the top of it, and it's crumbling and falling into the holes a little bit, so see how we get on anyway. And the rest of the bed I'll do with like a mixed leaf. I'm half expecting the ones up this end will probably, sure the slugs will be paying them a visit. Do your best to sort of avoid them, but there's not a lot you can do. So these hopefully will just pop out of here. They are a bit on the dry side. I didn't want to sort of flood them out. So I'm going to just pop them out and pop them in. I might have to water these over the next few days until they've tapped some roots in. So I predominantly do most of the lettuce here in the back garden, not the plot, because it's just a long drive at the allotment. And lettuce is something I sort of pick on a weekly basis. You know, and if Kane's out here and he's not for eating the grass so much, I can turf the lettuce in for him. Like some of these in the middle are nice and damp, you know, they'll be fine. It is nice to get stuff in the ground and growing. That one's very dry. And then I've got in there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. How many have I got left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 left. So I'll probably put them. I might just dot them about at the end of another bed somewhere for now. Deal with them shortly. I'll give them a water. It was best with the lettuce sometimes is add a bit of water, wait 5-10 minutes, add a bit more. Save sort of flooding it too much. Because sometimes if they get too wet around the stem they can rot off, and if you get high winds, if they're not deep enough, they can have a wobble about and rock off until they give up. You know, you can put them on. you know, just keep watering them over the next few days, unless we don't, you know, rains or something, then we're fine. But yeah, there's a few in there. It's a start. I'll just work out what I'm going to do with the other ones now. Well, I've dipped a load of holes here, there's about 30 odd holes, so I'm just going to fill them up with lettuce. I won't have enough lettuce, I don't think, to fill them all, but it gives me a rough idea of what I'm going to get. So there's obviously a lot of lettuce going in there, and I'll have a complete bed free, which is okay for the stuff that's due to come in a couple of weeks. And obviously there'll be a second planting of the sort of little gems. They're a winter gem really, but so I'll just harvest them small and hope they don't blow to seed. So a few varieties I've not tried before, so I'm just going to not particularly put them in any fancy order, just try and fill up the holes really. So we'll start, I'll do some Grenoble Red first, because a favourite of mine this. One's really dry, so I'm just going to pop them in. These holes are about 9 inches apart in all directions. You know, and these will be pretty much like a cut and come again sort of lettuce. So I'm not going to let them get too big. Obviously there'll be some leaves will die off in the coming week or two, the lowest leaves. You could pick them off now, but I'll just see how they go over the next few days. If they start to struggle at all, I'll pull some off. You know, and deciding on how they produce, you know, if they do okay, I can keep them in a bit longer. But otherwise I can sort of get rid of a few and make room for another variety, you know, just to try some different ones out. You know, because it is nice to get a bit of colour on the plate after a winter time of eating quite, you know, some bland sort of things. But even I've still got a load of broccoli and collie to use up, you know, until this gets ready, which I should imagine will be about, well, three weeks. I could probably start harvesting this, and then you go from having nothing to an absolute abundance of it. But we'll just enjoy the season really. You know, for an average house, you know, if you didn't have pets or so you didn't want to do too much lettuce, just a small 3-foot square bed would probably keep a family of 4 going through the summer. The trick is pick them when they're quite small, and that way then you get a nice mix of like baby leaf lettuce. Once you start getting quite big, that's when you end up with a lot of large leaves. And don't be frightened of picking some, you know, and just to keep the plant sort of in that small sort of state. You know, when composting it, it's not wasteful as such. I've got a Grenoble Red left. I'll leave that just in case I need a backup for anything. I'm going to change the colour now. I've got some of these. How well these come out, I don't know. These are called Saxo, the red one. I've never grown these before. If they'll come out in one. It's a bit tricky trying to get them out without them falling to bits. Just do 4 of these and leave myself a backup. Let's go on the other side for this. So once you've got all your seedlings ready, it doesn't take long to fill your garden up, and then you can kind of have a little bit of a rest. Not for long. Some more, this new red fire, I think this one's called. There's one I've not done before, so see if these come out nicely. Need to make the holes a little bit bigger for these ones, I think. Use the old natural tools of the fingers. It's always handy to have a few backups just in case you, let's say you get one that rots off or a slug comes out, absolutely annihilates one of them. At least you've got something there to fill the gap, whether it's the same variety or something else. It's only for sort of my benefit to have it looking all symmetrical and nice and neat and whatnot, but really the plants aren't bothered. Give them some soil, give them some water, room to grow, and they'll be away. Right, there's 4 of them. Could do another 2. This one's really dry at the end here, it's suffering. You have to watch, you see, because sometimes if you soil doesn't drain very well, it can get a bit too waterlogged. But get them in and they'll be fine. That's 6 of them, so that'll do for that. So I'll put a few mazure in now. I like mazure. It's a bit more time consuming to pick. Like little jagged leaves in there. They crop for ages before they decide to go to seed. Usually I can get kind of 1 or 2 crops of mazure, and all the other ones have kind of gone to seed after the first one. No, just 1 sowing. Mazure will usually last me most of the season. I've done 2 because I've got a bit of a backup, because I'll do some more mazure for harvesting as little full lettuce, just for cane. It's not like an endive where it gets bitter or anything like that. And some of these seed trays I've had for over 10 years. You know, they're just about holding on. There for there. That one for there. And we'll have 4 holes. Do I have enough? Not really. But I'm filling with something, whether it's rocket or something else. I'll find something, or a couple of bunches of spring onions. Yeah, I'll probably do a couple of bunches of spring onions, probably. The idea is obviously the distance between these is, once they get sort of this size, take the outer leaves off within a sort of like 7 to 10 day time scale. They'll have replaced those leaves. What have we got? What else can I put in there? A couple of these in here are firing. right at the end here, just in case the slugs decide to come out and have a play. Because I'm going to put some slug pellets down, but not in the beds, sort of around the beds. Yeah, this tray's just about had it, I think. Half the compost has come away from that. And get it sort of tapped in. Fingers crossed it doesn't rot off and doesn't dry out. Like I say, the follow-up crop of lettuce, I've got a fair few of them, so without filling any gaps. You always get the odd one that decides to be a pain and die off. Give those a bit of a water in now. I'm just going to keep adding the water to these as I go along, bit by bit, build it up. Turn my head around on that. Got a slightly finer nozzle on this because I don't want to absolutely flood them and bury them in the soil, because it will absorb some liquid through the leaves. The sun's going off a bit now. It's not ideal to water in direct sunshine, but it's just a bit easier if you let them dry out a bit to get out and get them out of the seed trays. It kind of shrinks the compost a bit. So I'll probably give it like another hour and then put another full watering can over them. Probably water everything I've planted out. I'll put another quick full watering can over them. I'll have a quick look at what I've got done today then. So I've got all the Durham early spring greens in, some spring onions just to sort of fill the gap at the end there. This bed we've got the Brussels sprouts, the Maximus. I've sneaked a row of rocket in along the edge here, I think there's 8. And then there's another 8 little gems along there. We've got some more little gems over the far end, some Grenoble red, some Saxo red lettuce, new red fire and some mesure, the Kelsey giant onions, and then we've got some sort of mustard, some red mustard. I think there's 3 rows there, and some more rocket at the end here. All in all, so it's been a productive day. Things are in the ground, you know, which is always nice to get things in the ground growing finally. And if the weather stays up, you know, nice and bright days, don't mind a bit of rain in between, just help keep things watered till they tap in. It's just keep an eye out for the pests and everything. So thanks for watching, and if you want to, you know, support the channel, all the links will be in the description below, along with any discount codes for any things that I actually feature in the channel. So take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.